Happy Saturday, folks. Welcome back. So today we're going back to the roots of the channel, the original intent and concept. So I was participating in a discussion on Ultimate Guitar about a home amp, a bedroom amp, and the person, ironically enough, specifically mentioned the Micro Dark and the GT40, which, if you've been watching my channel at all, those are the two amps I have. I otherwise have my Helix with a PA speaker. I have Bias FX, but the two actual amps I own are a Micro Dark and a GT40, and I mean those are both in my bedroom as my bedroom amps, and I thought that was hysterical. I couldn't resist, a rather long, rambling post about my thoughts on the two of them. But it got me thinking about the volume, about the relative output and quality of the two of them, because they're very different. There is no comparison between the two amps in terms of their max output, but we're never using max output. As we'll find out, I've got a list of numbers here. The GT40 goes about as loud as you'd ever want to use in the bedroom. It really still reasonably clean sound, meaning it's not distorting, the speakers aren't distorting or anything. You're getting what you're expecting to get. So if you're modeling distortion, you get the distortion. It peaks at 94 is what I wrote down. I should clarify, I'm using a decibel meter in the phone. Those numbers are for reference only. We will quickly cover a comparison point so that those make sense. Don't hold me to these numbers as that number is an accurate number. It's accurate relative to the other numbers I'm giving you. That's it. Don't be like, mine goes to 97. It doesn't matter. You used a different meter at a possibly different distance, turned a different way. This is not a scientific test. This is a realistic home bedroom test. So, just going to lay that out there. The GT40, from a few feet away, meaning I am standing in line with, the meter is in line, my head is in line with the speakers of a GT40, maxed out. I mean, there was some more room, but it started to crackle and not be happy. And that master volume was all the way up. The volume on the amp model was most of the way up. Any further and I started getting weird effects. They weren't the model, they were the actual speakers of the unit, which is how I knew I was getting as much as I was going to get. I fiddled around with which models and what I needed to do, and that was it. That was the peak. So that's 94. 94, I mean, the app I use is pretty accurate. I've used it for other testing before. It's just not super accurate. So we'll call that 92 to 96 good enough? That's loud. I mean, that's... If you ever heard a suppressed rifle, like a suppressed 223, suppressed 308, I mean, if you don't have earmuffs on, they're still pretty loud. That's louder than that. The amp is loud enough that I wouldn't sit there and listen normally. I would turn it down. If it was a stereo, I would move further away, something. Certainly, if you're, I don't know why you would ever do this, but if you're trying to use a GT40 in a large room, a big living room, a classroom, and you've got it up in the corner or whatever, and you are in the back corner, opposite it, cranked up, that's about right. That's good enough to overhear the idiots in the front row having a conversation. So that's where we're at. The ambient room, as another reference point, 39 decibels. This is the creak of the radiators. This is the hum of the Micro Dark. So that's just turned on. Helix is on. Guitar is on. I'm not playing. No, this is the normal hum. This is not, I don't have any crazy 60 cycle hum at this point. Nothing's going on. That's just the equipment is live. And there's a little hum. For comparison, my refrigerator is louder than that. And my refrigerator is not terribly loud. So if I backed up down the hall, I started getting the refrigerator being louder. So outside the room with the door closed, same bass hum level. It didn't go down. It really, the ambient sounds of the house. So it just depended on exactly where I was. About a foot further from the door than I was standing for most of the testing was possibly the quietest point in the house, because there's no radiators. You're as far from a refrigerator, a heater, anything as you can get. It's a pretty quiet spot. It dropped like 2 more decibels. Whoop-de-doo. So those are my 2 ends for the GT40 and for ambient. And the GT40 wasn't the hum, by the way. The GT40 is basically silent. I mean, really. So, okay, we're going to the micro dark now. We've already established the GT40 is basically from 0, meaning ambient level, to 94. And 94 is loud enough. You don't want to be there, but fine. It's not bad. So, the micro dark, through the Helix, I'm using 4-cable method for the Helix, so the Helix is actually controlling a lot of the volume, but I can't exceed what the power amp in the micro dark allows. The micro dark is not a master volume. The power amp is a digital solid state power amp that is always at max. It gives you whatever you give it, it amplifies as much as it can, and that's it. So if you give it a stronger signal, you get a stronger signal out. So, for example, if you put a pedal in your effects loop that has a volume control, that's your volume control. I don't know how better to tell you this. If you put a volume control in the effects loop of a micro dark, that just became your master volume. Almost. I'll get back to that. So, chords at what I consider a low bedroom level. This was not artificially quiet. This was not, as low as I could go. This was just what I would use if there was somebody else in the house and I wanted to play, and I didn't want to disturb them any more than I had to. Peaked with chords at 80. This was using my Strat. This is a couple feet from the cabinet. I was sitting on the bed with the cabinet facing me, and that peaked at 80. Most of it was like 78, 79. And then single notes were quieter. Chords are as loud as you get, really. Single notes are quieter. Later, when I crank it up, I really don't do any chords. I mostly do quieter stuff. But it didn't matter because we're comparing volume levels. So at the door, with the door open, we went from 80 to 72. Now, and yes, I artificially picked 80. I fiddled with it until I got it at an even number. So right outside the bedroom door, we're at 72. Now that's door open. That's as if a sibling, a parent, a spouse came to the door and was trying to talk to you. At 72, you know they're there. You can hear them talking, but you probably can't understand them unless they yell. Now, they don't have to scream. They just, if you're having a conversation, you're not going to understand them. Because remember, you're hearing 80. They're hearing 72. So you can't talk over 80. So by the time it gets to them, you're mixed into the sound. They have no idea what you're saying. Them talking to you, they can't get over 80. So you can't hear them. So the fact that it's only 72 where they are doesn't change the fact that you're almost co-located with that cabinet from their perspective. With the door closed, it was 69. 69 is decent. So 69 you start backing away, it's not bad. Down the hall, with the door open, it's 67. So we've reopened the door. It's at 67 if you've gone down the hall. It goes down to 64 when you close the door. Now, 64 is conversational volume. That's me talking to you right now. That's 64 decibels, at least according to my decibel meter, and that's about my experience. If somebody's loud, they might be 67. If somebody's quiet, they might be 59. This is probably 55, 56. So yeah, you're at a conversational level, which means that if somebody's in my kitchen, which is at the end of that hall, having a conversation, the music is background noise to them. It's not interfering, no problems. Now, for comparison, acoustic chords on that Strat with the decibel meter in the same spot relative to the instrument as it was when I was playing through the cab, hit 61. So they're almost as loud. They're still conversational. So think that's a good reference point. We all know roughly what an electric guitar sounds like acoustically. Hitting chords, constant, just boom, 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 hit 61. So, I mean, you're not talking crazy loud. Now, keep in mind, that's 61, right on my leg from the guitar sitting on the other leg, right? That's, at my ears, it's probably a couple decibels lower. Now we're going the other way. 104 is you're, over long terms, you're doing damage. So don't go doing 104 on a routine basis without wearing earplugs. You guys playing metal, wear monitors. 104 right there. Chords, that was chords. Single notes hit 99. 97, 99, it depended on the note. So at that point I just went to single notes, okay? So from here on, this is single notes. 104 was the chords. 97 is roughly what I would use from this point on as a comparison point. That was me playing Day Tripper into the looper of the Helix, and then I just let it play. So 97 went to 86 at the door. So it dropped all the way to 86. Now, 86 is still louder than I considered normal volume for bedroom use, but you're getting down there. That's yeah. I mean, if you're a kid, your mom's yelling at you, turn it down. Your spouse is probably saying, "Hey, honey, could you turn that down from 2 rooms over because she can't listen to TV, or she can't have a conversation with the kid, or whatever it is." But it's 79 with the door closed. That's getting down there. 74 down the hall with the door closed. 74, getting down to annoying if they don't like what you're playing. But now we're at normal listening levels for them. So if they're okay with what you're playing, for you it's deafening. For them, that was good. That was stereo turned up a little bit. That was turned up car radio. Not pumping the bass, cranking out, blowing your speakers out the bass. But turned up. We're talking normal people here, not audio. What is the sound pressure level competition stuff? So this is as far as I would go. Any further, and I would not be happy, right? Now we go the other way. This is how far can we go? This is at 110. I wanted earplugs. At 110, I basically said, "I'm done. I'm running away." And I think I totally just screwed this up and want to fix it in editing. At 110, I said, "I want my earplugs. I've knocked this picture off my shelf. The cat has run away. I literally went hunting for earplugs because I figured I was going to be in the room fiddling around with this for a little bit, and I couldn't find them, so I did it quickly. At 104 at the door, still objectionably loud. Not horrible, but that was the chords at as loud as I would normally play, and this was single notes. Okay, that was single notes. That was playing Day Tripper into the looper. With the door closed, it's 92, and 92 was getting down to not objectionable, loud, but not horrible. 83 down the hall was getting back to livable volumes. I mean, this was normal volumes. Loud, but reasonable. So, plenty of headroom left. I mean, at that point, at 110, it had no problem going louder. So, what does that tell us? That tells me that a micro dark is perfectly happy blasting your eardrums through a 1x12, deafening you, and making your cat run away. This is not a surprise. Every review of the micro dark says do not underrate this amp for output. It's loud. It doesn't have a master volume. So when you put power into the power amp, you amplify a certain amount. Well, like I mentioned earlier, there's a little quirk, and normally we would expect that if you're using the FX loop, all the signal is going through the FX loop, and whatever you put through the FX loop is what gets amplified and nothing else. And that's 100% of the signal chain, right? Turns out the micro dark has a bit of a dry signal on top of the wet signal of the FX loop. Because on my Helix, I was using the pedal as a volume pedal, and was using that for what was going through the loop. Into the Helix, did a reverb and delay, and came back out to the return of the amp. And there was a volume adjustment in there on the Helix so that I could quickly on and off and fiddle around. Well, when I turned the volume all the way off on the Helix, I was still hearing the looper quietly. I mean, very quietly. It was like somebody's earphones, in the room, and like they were turned up, but not obnoxious. It was just there, and it was interesting because I couldn't figure it out at first. I was like, did I not do the pedal all the way or what? No, it was zeroed out. The Helix was doing nothing in the loop. It was just the signal headed out to the amp from the input, the original dry signal, and that was still there. Very quiet, very mild, but it was still there. So didn't know that. Didn't know it did that. Very interesting. I'm not sure it really means anything because it was so quiet that it wouldn't add to the mix, really. It wouldn't be like you would do if you were doing a 2-amp setup with a dry and a wet amp. It wouldn't be... A lot of times in the Helix, I'll do a setup where I let my dry signal pass straight through to the cab plus a wet signal on another channel, just to make sure I keep my clean signal sitting on top. And no, I mean, it's not going to do that much. But certainly, overall, the power and the output of the micro dark, dramatic, huge for the size, blows the GT40 out of the water in terms of volume. But when you turn them down, there's nothing there. There's no issue turning the micro dark down. And part of what the test was what happens when you turn it down. So, because remember, I'm using a 4-channel method, or 4-cable method, and using the Helix as a volume pedal in the return loop. So I can do all the gain effects I want on the amp. If you're familiar with the Marker Dark, it really is not designed to be a clean, quiet amp. It's designed for you to crank the gain and get some of that orange crunch, crispy noise built in. And I could turn that up, fiddle with it, fiddle with the shaping adjustment, all I wanted. And then in the return loop, in the effects loop going through my Helix, I could turn that volume down, and all I was doing, it was just a master volume, and it still came through nice and clean. I didn't have anything weird. So I don't know. I think it was interesting. I think it was worth doing. I think that either amp is more than capable of home use. I stand by what I've always said. From the first time I messed with it through now, I've always thought that the GT40 is a great home amp. It isn't loud. It isn't designed to be loud. It isn't designed to be a practice amp even. If you're a band. It isn't super accurate modeling. It isn't the world's biggest effects range. It's enough. It's enough for home use, for bedroom use, for casual play. I fully suggest setting up your presets where you've got full control. If you're fiddling around in the computer system for it, or using your phone, people always say, like, there's no mid control. Well, there is. It's just not a dial. It's a pain to get to. You've got to go through the controls and fiddle with the electronics. Same with the effects. You've got to go into the electronics. It's not as intuitive for the bass effects as, say, a katana. And what it is a quiet, easily controlled amp. But anyway, this ran way longer than it really needed to. You just sat here and listened to me talk about sound for half an hour. So take care, have fun, and keep playing, folks.